Have you ever just stopped and wondered why your life is so completely different from your ancestors from just a few hundred years ago? I mean, radically different. Well, the answer is way more surprising and, honestly, a lot more provocative than you might think. And it all starts with getting a real gut check on just how different their world actually was.
Okay, let's just try to imagine a regular family back in the year 1800. The dad's reading by the fire, but that cough he has, that's the pneumonia that's going to kill him before he's 54. The baby crying, it won't make it through the next smallpox outbreak. The mom has a toothache that is just a constant grinding torture. Oh, and their clothes are full of lice, and not a single one of them has ever been more than, say, 15 miles from where they were born. And the craziest part? This wasn't some horrible dystopia. For almost all of human history, this was just life.
So, what happened? What on earth changed? Because in the grand sweep of human history, the jump from that world to ours, with our phones and our planes and our grocery stores, it happened in the blink of an eye. What was the secret sauce? What was the ingredient that changed absolutely everything? To find the answer, we've actually got to start with what didn't change.
It wasn't our biology. Seriously. The person who painted rhinos on a cave wall in France 32,000 years ago was just as smart, just as funny, and just as human as you or me. Our brains didn't get some sudden hardware upgrade. No, the real revolution wasn't what happened inside our skulls. It's what started happening between them.
And this brings us to a really powerful and, kind of shocking metaphor from the author Matt Ridley. He argues that the secret to all of human progress is that ideas started having sex. Now, just think about that for a second. In biology, what drives evolution? Sex, right? It lets genes from different parents meet and combine and create brand new things way, way faster than random mutation ever could. Well, it turns out cultural evolution has its own version of sex, and that's exchange. Trading stuff. Because when we trade, we're not just swapping things, we're swapping the ideas, the inventions, and the know-how that are baked into those things.
It's such a powerful analogy. Just like sex makes a gene pool more creative and resilient, trade does the exact same thing for our collective pool of ideas. It's this incredible cross-pollination of technologies that would have otherwise just stayed locked away in their own little corners of the world. And this process, it creates this incredible self-reinforcing engine, a positive feedback loop. See, exchange lets us specialize. It means you don't have to be a bad farmer and a bad builder and a bad weaver. You can just focus on being a really good weaver. And when you specialize, you get the time and the brain space to innovate, to come up with a better loom. And that innovation, it creates a better thing to trade, which just kicks the whole cycle into a higher gear.
You know, the economist Friedrich Hayek actually had a name for this whole system, catalexy. It's a fancy word, but it just means this ever-expanding world of possibilities that gets created when more and more people get pulled into this web of trading and specializing. It's not a master plan, it just emerges.
Now, I know that might sound a little abstract, so let's make it super concrete. Think about something as simple as a pencil. To make just one pencil, you need loggers in Oregon. And those loggers, they need coffee to stay awake, which comes from farmers in Brazil. You need graphite from miners in Sri Lanka. You need complex machines to put it all together. Literally thousands of people all over the globe have a hand in making a simple pencil.
And here is the truly mind-blowing part. And this comes from a classic essay on the topic. The pencil gets made despite the absence of a mastermind. Think about that. Not one of those thousands of people, not even the CEO of the pencil company, knows how to make a pencil from scratch by themselves. It's the product of this spontaneous collective intelligence. It just happens.
So what happens when you let this engine of idea sex run wild for 2 centuries? Well, you get an explosion of prosperity so huge, so unprecedented, that historians had to give it a special name, the Great Enrichment. Just try to wrap your head around this. Since 1800, the world's population has grown 6 times over, 6, but the average person's real income didn't just stay the same, it shot up by 9 times. We didn't just slice the same pie into more pieces, we baked a totally new, massively bigger pie.
But even a number like 9x hides how crazy the change has been. Take light, something so basic. Back in 1800, if you wanted 1 hour of light from a tallow candle, it would cost you 6 hours of your work. 6 hours! Today, that same hour of light from a modern light bulb, it costs you less than half a second of work. That is a 43,200-fold improvement. It's almost unimaginable.
Or, hey, let's bring it even closer to home. A cheeseburger. In the 1950s, your average worker had to put in about 30 minutes to earn enough to buy one. Today, it's about 3 minutes. That's what real prosperity feels like. It's getting more stuff for way less of your life. And these examples are just everywhere you look. A 3-minute phone call from New York to LA went from 90 hours of work to less than 2 minutes. Aluminum used to be a precious metal more expensive than silver. Today, we wrap our sandwiches in it. We've literally just rearranged the atoms of the planet to make them wildly more useful and available for everyone. And here's maybe the most important part. This rising tide didn't just lift the fancy yachts, it actually lifted the smallest boats the fastest. While the rich certainly got richer, the world's poor did even better, on average. In fact, according to the UN, humanity has reduced more poverty in the last 50 years than in the previous 500. Just let that sink in. So, all of this brings us to right now, to the present, and it makes a case for what Matt Ridley calls rational optimism. And I can hear you thinking it right now. Okay, fine, but what about all our massive modern problems, right? Financial crises, climate change, lingering poverty. Doesn't this happy story about progress just ignore all the very real dangers we're facing today? And the argument isn't that problems don't exist. Of course they do. The point is that the solution to those problems, it comes from the exact same process that got us here in the first place. That decentralized, bottom-up mating of ideas, that is our best shot for solving anything. That engine of innovation isn't broken. It's our greatest asset. As Ridley says, this bottom-up world is going to be the great story of the century. Which leaves us with one last, and I think really empowering question to think about. If progress doesn't come from the top down, if it's not handed to us by kings or presidents or some genius mastermind, if it just emerges from billions of us trading and creating and interacting, then who is really in charge of the future? The answer might be a lot simpler and a lot closer to home than we've been led to believe.